This is the GJRB Online Network. The following is a GJRB podcast presentation. Now, GJRB presents The Last 7 Days. In this time of lawlessness and utter chaos, there's a program that puts it all into perspective. This is the program where men and women gather to discuss current events and how it lines up with Bible prophecy. And now, The Last 7 Days.
Okay, we will get started.
Oh, we should get started.
Don't have a lot of articles. I just went through Kansas a few months ago with the grandkids. And when I left Kansas, I had to say we're not in Kansas anymore.
Did you put your
Yeah,
Dodge?
Kansas got out of Dodge too.
Yeah, I got out of Dodge.
Dodge City, to be more and Fort Dodge.
Yeah.
Kansas and Oklahoma have been hit by 65 earthquakes the last 7 days.
Wow.
Especially in Kansas.
Wow.
A county in central Kansas experienced a pretty shocking uptick in seismic activity last week. 11 earthquakes in 5 days. One county in Kansas. It started out with a magnitude 2.4 earthquake Wednesday morning, just 2.5 miles southwest of Hutchinson, which I was probably about maybe a mile from that, and there would be 10 more before the week was out. The biggest one that hit this area was on Friday morning. This was last Friday. It was 4.2, later downgraded to 4.1. So, earthquakes in diverse places. Sign of the times that we're living in.
So that was like another movie said a tornado earthquake. The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
We don't have our Jim Murphy here.
The sequel.
So I'm standing in for him. Pope Francis in Rome on Thursday blasphemously declared marriage is the gate of heaven, even though the Bible declares that only Jesus Christ is. He actually said this back in August 15th, at the Feast of Assumption. But he just said it also recently, in the last 7 days. Mary, who is a human creature, one of us, reaches eternity in body and soul, said Pope Francis. This is why we invoke her as the gate of heaven. There she awaits us, just as a mother waits for her children to come home. The Pope said that we are like pilgrims on our way to heaven, seeing that in paradise together with Christ, the new Adam, there is also her, Mary, the new Eve, gives us comfort and hope of our pilgrimage down here. So she said this. He just recently said this. Reading from John chapter 10, verses 7 through 10. Then said Jesus unto them again, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enters in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and find pasture. The thief comes not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. But Jesus said, I am the door, not Mary.
That's something.
This is from a Pew study, a recent Pew study just done. This is part of the great falling away here. Okay. Anyhow, it's hard sometimes to put these in order. New study shows that the more Americans know about religion, the less they like evangelicals. The more people know about different religions, the less they like evangelicals. Yes.
Different religions.
Yes.
reports the Christian Post. This finding says Southern Evangelical Seminary President Dr. Richard Land should be dismayed to those who seek to evangelize the world. According to what America knows about a religion study, Americans with a higher level of religious knowledge have a warmer view of Jews, Catholics, mainline Protestants, and Buddhists than they have of evangelical Christians. The question stemming from this study should be why, Land said. Why, when people learn about evangelicals, does the likability factor decrease? Do people view evangelicals less favorable because they tend to stand firm on those foundational teachings of the Holy Spirit when it comes to marriage, homosexual, and social issues? Is it because evangelicals and politics have become intertwined in many people's minds in the recent past? Is it perhaps because the evangelical community is indeed divided on some issues, including how to handle social justice initiatives? Whatever the reason is, it is important that evangelicals better demonstrate their love for each other and to every one of their fellow human beings, and their desire to see everyone come personally to a saving knowledge of Jesus as Savior and Lord. If you want to share Jesus' gospel with the world, we must do everything we can to show people how much we care about them personally and individually. So, Pew's survey questions helped examine whether Americans with higher levels of religious knowledge had more positive attitudes towards various religious groups. In general, it was found that the more people know about a particular religion, the higher they would rate it on a thermometer scale ranging from 0 to 100. When it comes to evangelicals, however, the respondents reflected an exception to the trend. The study found that of the 11,000 respondents assigned to a mean thermometer reading, of 63 to the Jews, 60 to the Catholics, 60 to mainline Protestants, 57 to Buddhists, 56 to evangelical Christians, 55 to Hindus, 51 to Mormons, 49 to atheists, and 49 to Muslims. So, this is the mean thermometer reading. From 0 to 100. And so they, when they did a study, they found out that they were Jews, Catholics, mainline, all Buddhists, evangelical Christians, 55, Hindus 51, Mormons 40. So, the study shows that the more people study religion as a whole, the more that they don't like evangelical Christians. But we are ahead of the Hindus, the Mormons, the atheists, and the Muslims. But not by much.
I don't want to get over the others because I think that it's not that they study other religions, because if they really study them, they find out that, converts come at the end of the sword, except for in evangelicals, they don't do that.
Yeah.
But I think that they know the parts of the religion that they want to hear. Just like any religion, just like Christianity, they know the parts they want to hear, and they don't want to hear the parts that they don't want to hear. But the Bible tells us that the world will hate us because they hated Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're hated by the world,
You're
be filled with joy.
going to get good reviews anyway.
Yeah, and as long as you're hated by the world and you do it, to honor God.
Yeah.
Palestine Authority bans LGBTQ groups from the West Bank, calling activities harmful to higher values and ideas. Will pro-Palestinian Democrats speak on this? The answer is no.
Phobia. Some guys got phobia.
The Palestinian Authority has banned members of the LGBT advocacy group from conducting activities in Palestine-controlled territories, threatening them with arrest and urging citizens to report violators according to the Jerusalem Post. The ban is aimed against the group Al-Quds for sexual and gender diversity in Palestinian society, which recently held an event in the city of Nablus and was planning another later this month in the same location. A spokesman for the Palestinian Authority police said that the LGBTQ group's activities were harmful to the higher values of ideals of Palestinian society and the unrelated to religions and Palestinian traditions and customs, especially in the city of Nablus. According to the Post, Palestinian Authority police will be actively pursue members of Al-Quds for arrest and prosecution and encourage citizens to report anyone they suspect of being involved. Al-Quds issued a statement in response to the ban, which said that it had been around since 2001. And but again, it just kind of shows you the hypocrisy of, I think, the left. You know, here is the Palestinian authorities speaking out against LGBTQ.
But that's okay, though.
But that's okay. That's okay. Now the Jew,
Christians in this book.
now, there's a lot of
Veggie.
there's a lot of mainline denominations that hate Israel, hate the Jews. Okay. Now Tel Aviv happens to be the capital of homosexuals in the world now.
Veggie.
But nobody ever mentions that. I mean, it's you know, Christians are accused of being hypocrites, but I got to tell you something. There's plenty of the left.
Well, you mentioned the other day that there's a lot of homosexuality in the Muslim community. We think that
Yes, there is.
in the Sharia law,
Muslims don't like that homosexuality at all.
I mean, that's what their law, but, you know, and yet they have, you know, that's a kind of secret.
And yet we can't back Israel. We have to back Palestinians. That's the reason why so many people on the left are angry. Veggie Tales creator says Christian media will soon be forced to cover LGBT topics for kids.
I was talking about that on the radio the other day.
Yep. Veggie Tales co-creator Phil Bishker says it's inevitable that Christian filmmakers will be forced to address the LGBT topics on their shows. Parents are definitely going to have to deal with a growing number of LGBT presence in children media, Bishker told Christian Post. It's going to show up more and more. It's going to show up more and more as the world has decided that LGBT issues are in the same category as race and civil rights issues. So to say you shouldn't have a same-sex couple on Sesame Street is the equivalent of saying you shouldn't have a black couple on Sesame Street. Avishkar said gay characters being portrayed in children's programming has become customary. In recent years, the children's show Don Stuffins included a lesbian theme, and this year, an episode of PBS cartoon Arthur included a group of characters attending their teacher's gay wedding. While Arthur and his pals briefly discussed the wedding, and the other character told the group, "Yep, it's a brand new world." The most striking thing about the episode of Arthur wasn't that they thought it was time to introduce kids to gay marriage. It was the reaction of all the kids in the show, he said. None of them asked questions about why two men are getting married. The reaction was, okay, great. The Cartoon Network, which is very popular with children, encouraged viewers to celebrate Pride Month in honor of LGBTQ fans during the month of June. Bishker is a veteran in the world of children's entertainment that knows it's only a matter of time before Christian filmmakers and producers will have to discuss these issues from a biblical perspective. I think it will have to be addressed at some point. I do think that it's a matter of time, he told the Post. It's tricky because it's so divisive. I think it would be difficult for a couple of reasons. First, the nuance of how to treat LGBT issues isn't agreed upon within the church, and secondly, some parents don't want to have the talk with their children is added. The faith-based animated series Veggie has educated and entertained kids on Christian values since the mid-1990s. The best-selling children's animated cartoon featured talking vegetables that share Bible-based stories and lessons in the way kids can easily understand. The thing that concerns me about the body of a kids program out there is that it's mostly secular. And in all these thousands of hours of TVs that our kids are consuming, they'll never see someone set foot in a church or bow their head in prayer, Scripture said. The goal of these shows is to take kids deeper into the Bible and also be a resource for parents. So, yes.
I think it's a great failure of Christianity. And we allow them to put their agenda on the same level as race and other civil rights, because no other sin do we do that with, except for sexual sin. I mean, you can't say you have a right to murder somebody. So, you know, and that's our downfall as Christians. We missed the ball. And now they've got such a foothold. We have to remember that we're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. And if we don't have this spiritual warfare now, and that doesn't mean in the cause of praying, that's a good thing, without confronting these things. Jesus didn't cast the devils out by walking away and praying. He confronted them and cast them out. And that's what we need to do.
Yeah, and that's what exactly what I was going to say is that, you know, we are what Brian just said and what we talked about last night. I believe that ever since the early church, Satan has been building his church, and God has been building his church.
Yeah.
You know, Paul said that people are preaching another Jesus, another gospel, and another spirit. And I think that's exactly what's happening today. And you know, in the early church, it was a foundation. The foundation. And when you lay a foundation, you don't necessarily can see that foundation. But where we're at today, you can see the church that Satan is building and the church that God is building. It's pretty obvious. The walls are going up. And
You know, you're talking about that line, people forget the next verse, when he says, you accept it and agree with it. He says, and you accept it for the redemption. So it was true in that time as it is today. They accepted it pretty wholeheartedly in that time. And, you know, the things with this baby pill, he didn't start with baby pill. There's a cartoon church called the Smurfs.
Oh,
And it was supposed to be magic and wizardry and all that stuff. So basically, you know, they introduced satanic doctrine long before radio. I mean, it was hijacked. This guy retired. You know, it does it.
Yeah, there's somebody else.
He's not the same.
It's a different group.
Prefect.
Right.
But,
That's what Chris Rice had that song on
even Disney was that way, too.
It has been all along.
Yeah.
I feel like
Magical, mystical stuff.
that I'm a perfect example of what's happening in America. Is when I was born in '53. By the time when I was 6, they were taking prayer out of school. I did not remember Bible study in school, but by the late 50s. But when I was 6, they took her out of school here in Clinton, and that was in '59. Wow, so I was 6. So then years later, or when I was 20, or just say when I was 18. When I was 18, it was 1971. And you take a generation I went to school without prayer or without Bible study, other than prayer being my kindergarten year. So you take a look at 59, and then you take a look at 71, and look at the change in America. And I know that we had a Vietnam War, but I think it's more than a Vietnam War, because it was a change in our educational system. I was raised in a very secular school system that did not, teach anything about God or honor God. But on the other hand, I grew up with Peanuts at Christmas, where they quoted scripture from Luke. Was it David and Goliath?
David and Goliath.
We watched it, yeah.
I watched that on
Yeah.
one of the channels.
Where they espoused biblical principles.
And Lutheran Hour, there was a Lutheran Hour. We had to watch that.
Well, but
They always had a program on
it was-
about families.
The whole thing about why I'm pointing this is that even though the schools had turned secular, there was still elements of the gospel in children's programming that was forming our values. I can tell you, I can still remember. I still remember, seeing this when I was a kid, and the gospel being preached, and so. Peanuts, cartoons, and then even Christmas programs that were Christmas programs for kids. They were still espousing, So now that has changed. That element of society has left. Now kids are looking at programs devoid of any Christian message.
Yeah. The fathers were treated like they were dummies.
Well, yeah.
Like the animal stuff. That one.
Well, Father knows best.
Or then they started making movies
Back
too.
then.
Not that they have it just there, but they make a lot of movies now where you have Christians carrying around Bibles and they're shooting people, right and left or doing.
I always believe there were lines in time that set the pace of what God is going to serve. And it's funny because even the world will echo the change. And you think of people like John McClane with American Pie chronicling, chronologizing the death of innocence in America in the song. And it was right at that exact time you're talking about, between like 58, 59, 65. And then we got the violent times of the 75, then we got the lean times, then we got the times of prosperity in the 80s where we forgot about everything but making money, and including our children. And because of that, we come into this time of recklessness and just downright rebellion from God, and now we're coming into the end time. So I think that we have wound through the clock, and we're at the end of the story.
No, and I completely agree, because again, using my timeline, when I was 13, I was 66, and by 66, there was definitely a change in America. And by the time I got out of high school, we did not look anything like when I prayed in kindergarten as a society. We looked like nothing like that. And because a whole generation now raises up, and and I hate to say it, but for a long time now, society has been defined by the next generation, by the generation of young people. Mm-hmm. And so, they set the standard of what culture's going to look like. And so,
But we've done that.
I think that's what my mother said, public with the private
It used to
school.
be that our values are set by our parents. Now, this generation is coming out, they take none of their values from us.
but again, I grew up with, remember, don't trust anybody over 30 years old. Don't trust anybody over 30. You know, if you,
Yeah, like I said, we've done that.
So we were probably that generation that started this idea that the next generation comes up, sets the standard, and that's what we're doing today, is 30-year-olds, you know, whatever the 21 to 35-year-olds, millennials, are setting the standard for how we're going to live. And unfortunately, the millennials now never got to see anything on TV that espoused godly values.
The sad part is we've always said that the church follows the world. Well, that's not really true. The world follows the church because we started this in church. When we started uplifting our young people and saying our future is in the young, instead of saying our past defines our future, we lifted up a generation to a place of prominence where they shouldn't have been until they had the maturity to handle that prominence. So the world has followed that in saying, you know, our children are the future, and they're forgetting that their story is not ended yet.
I can't remember, it's the millennial generation, what is it, Generation Z?
Z now,
Yeah.
Generation Z.
And the only thing those two generations really agree on is being against Christianity. They don't even agree with each other, those two generations.
When they have that TV in the market, Christians never know what they don't believe in what they do.
Sin is like a cancer, and it strikes earlier. It strikes earlier and earlier than people through the generations, and that's what sin does, and that's what rebellion against God does. It strikes earlier and earlier, and we're getting to a place where because there was no education in school, because there was no godly presence on TV, and because we are now promoting the death of family, and of course now we have been promoting abortion and the killing of life. We are steadily moving to a society that is blatantly against Christianity. And not only against Christianity, but blames Christianity for all of its woes, all of its problems.
It's still that bring it wrong.
And pretty soon we'll become militant again.
It's homosexuality right now, but
And it's
they're
not-
blaming us too.
It's not just the millennials and the Zs, but the baby boomers, people that aren't Christians, they also blame Christianity for everything. For all the wars, everything that's gone wrong in the world, they blame the Christians.
Yeah.
When I was in school, a little before you, about 9 years before, in Cedar Rapids, I don't think that I ever prayed in school or had any Bible teaching of any kind in school. And, but they did allow, like in elementary school, for the classes to come out and sing Christian songs, but each class would sing one or two songs.
Christmas time, the programs would be Christian music.
Yeah,
Now,
no, not anymore.
We even use the word Christmas, not the sparkling thing.
happy holiday.
Yeah.
Even any colors associated
Could be
with the Christian message of Christmas has been taken away.
Yeah, Christmas trees become the holiday tree.
We're destroying the entire holiday of Christmas by saying it didn't happen at this time, and
Yeah.
it's not right to worship trees and all this garbage. All it is a distraction to take the focus off of Christ and his entrance into the world. And Christianity is their worst enemy in those situations because they think themselves wise and they become like fools.
There's still a lot of Easter.
Yeah, that's even complaining,
Well,
and we'll get to the section part of it.
So we're going to kind of keep on the scene and work our way to the persecution of the church. The secret United Methodist meetings revealed proposed to split the denomination over LGBT inclusion. The United Methodist Church, which is not being too united right now, decided that they're going to, they're not going to split up. They're not going to split up. They're just going to have different divisions, and they're going to call them, I think it's going to be like the Lutheran Church. They're going to be called conferences, and the Lutheran Church are called senates. They're like Missouri Senate, Wesleyan. So I think they're going to have different divisions within the church. They're going to try to keep it together, but they're just going to have different divisions, shall we say, different conferences within the
Financial sense, probably.
Well, that's the problem. The group acknowledges that there are many issues to work through, perhaps the most difficult being the denomination's assets. $118 million to be exact. So they're not splitting up, but they're just going to have different conferences. The Methodist University in Virginia, Shenandoah University, which is a Methodist school, is now going to have a Muslim chaplain. Yes. The Methodist school, Shenandoah University has hired Hannah Yunus, a Muslim chaplain, to support their students' religious needs. Shenandoah is open to people of all faiths and no faith exploring their belief system and being leaders in the world for the greater good. Dean of Spiritual Life, Reverend Dr. Justin Allen said, according to Diverse Education, Hannah provides an opportunity to be what we always say we value, and that's the practice that cherishes religious diversity. The school is nestled in Winchester, Virginia, has tasked Eunice to work with all students, regardless of their religion, to address their spiritual needs. She is the first clergy person in the school's nearly 150-year history not to be identified as Christian. The university hopes that she can draw more Muslim high school students, and there it is.
Imagine.
It's all about the money. College is dedicated and a defining period in a person's life. Eunice said in a press release. Hopefully, if students can learn about different faiths and different cultures, they can go into a diverse world and be change makers. Shenandoah hopes they will be. Eustace's hiring raised a few eyebrows towards a liberal-leaning university. However, in an article in the Christian Post, Mark Cooley, president of the Institute of Religion and Democracy, fired several questions toward the school. The school news release explained their hiring of a Muslim chaplain. we've always wanted to be more inclusive and more diverse. But how diverse are they really truly asked? Probably not so much to take in a Bible-believing Christian.
So are there any Christian university left?
I don't know.
You know, the Methodists, and I don't have the history, I'm sure you probably do, were some of the most radical believers.
Absolutely.
How,
Yeah.
how long ago was that? Wasn't that long?
The first Methodist revivals in America were Holy Spirit filled,
Yeah.
Oh,
charismatic.
what people don't want, people just don't realize is that the Wesley brothers were not only Bible believing, but they were Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Well, most of the Christian colleges were started like Christians, for instance.
Sorry, Dan.
Oh, go ahead.
What we have to look at is what time frame did that take place, you know, where it went from what they were until what it is today, what you're just reading now.
Well, from the late 1700s
Okay. So
to the, early 1800s.
Well, even the early revival.
even in the early 1800s, there were
What's
some
I actually had a great grandfather sort of revelations that I had two circuit riding Methodist ministers, but my family on my dad's side is from Methodist, and I had two circuit riding Methodist ministers. One in Maryland, the town was named after. There's a statue in the town, and they have a celebration every year about his family. But he was with the Wesley brothers early on, and there was, you got to see that, when revival comes, it's always when nobody expects it. When people say it's not going to happen. And that's the reason why I still think that there's going to be a great division, and there's going to be a great falling away. But those who remain will be powerful.
Hope your day was great.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Yeah, good day.
See,
See you later.
Yeah, I think that the last revival we're going to see is the revival within us. Not a massive group gathering, it's going to be a revival within Christians themselves.
I think that when the next revival hits, there'll be revival in us, but it will also draw crowds, but the crowds will quickly dwindle because they will be killed.
Yeah.
The next revival,
There'll be revival in us, but it will also draw crowds, but the crowds will quickly dwindle because they will be killed.
Yeah.
The next revival, the numbers won't build because the government will see that it will not build.
Yeah. The thing that Glenn was saying, though, the change that happened, whenever you have a big move of God like that, what happens is it gets too organized, and then a piousness sets in. People start thinking of it as something that it's not, and then it changes into something that it shouldn't be. So sooner or later, it goes from a move of God through usually desperation. It doesn't usually happen with big money movers and shakers. It happens among the common poor people. And then when they find success and they start thinking that they're somebody, then the religion and the organization changes because they figure, hey, if we grow and we set these things up right, we can make good money out of this.
I think that's happening in the charismatic movement. In a lot of ways, you see these guys denying the faith, and, people that know better, and who would have ever thought they would do that? But they still have.
A lot of calls came on that. I mean, Mary Evan Baker, she came out of the revival back in Vermont and New Hampshire, in that area. And then, of course, there was a great revival back in the 1840s. Of course, out of that came Joseph Smith. You know, so a lot of
Which came in
high
the early 1800s.
Right, well, yeah, but I mean, you think about 1840s and somewhere in that area.
Well, it was a
But-
continuation.
Right, but they claim that they come out of those kind of offshoots of the, I mean, when Mary Evan Baker was supposedly getting visions from God, there's people that she's claimed was barking and making coyote noises and all that stuff. And the word then, here recently, about 1985 or 90 days, I'm on TV, a special, and these people supposedly the spirit barking, you know, I mean, just kind of lived that.
We got one down in Florida.
Oh, yeah, maybe it's
They were doing that.
Yeah, they were down in
That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
What was that, Brownsville movement?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Brownsville. movement.
Brownsville.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is wherever there's success, like if the Holy Spirit starts drawing people and revival breaks out, wherever there's success, it draws opportunists. And when the opportunists get involved and they get defeated in it, then it corrupts it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Man always stops revival. And usually men in leadership stop revival because they want it to come to their church rather than spread out to the community.
it's part of the natural cycle because what happens is you grow so fast and so big that you don't have the manpower in the body to handle it of the mature Christians, so they start grabbing anybody that'll do something.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. I think that people that are not in the new creation, they're still in the old creation, but they have talent of something. It could be financial, it could be music,
Organizational or
yeah, whatever it is. You know, they're not born again into the new creation.
they just need an
But
opportunity.
they are good at something, and so they get used.
Yeah. And,
And I think that's happening greatly.
Well, yeah, a lot of evangelists, traveling evangelists who come here, do the evangelism or the revivals, and these medieval people will be people that will be put in places that, hey, this is a good opportunity. So they feel the vacuum of the evangelists that are gone. And they're stuck in some fell away, some stayed with the Lord, but some were, you know, look, we can give me your money or grant you kind of situation.
and what that does is it fosters a false foundation, a foundation of clay, because they have nothing to draw from.
Yeah.
So, therefore, they learn the lingo, they do the things. It's just like the praise and worship leaders are falling out of the sky now. They know everything, and they're surrounded by the people that tell them how to do this to be successful, and yet they have no idea of the life-changing part of the gospel of Christ.
Don't have a foundation in Christ. They just have talent.
Yeah, and even if they have the Bible knowledge, they don't have the experience of God changing them.
Right. I think you're exactly right.
Yeah. Kathy?
What you're saying now is that these big revivals that are happening, like, you know, like the one that's going to happen, that's going to start tonight, you know, at the Clinton Riverfront band shell. It'll be a success, but eventually, what did you say, the people are going to be choked off or killed?
Okay, let's define revival. Revival is not where a group of people get together and they get excited for a bit and that's it. And real revival changes culture. It changes the whole, it changes society.
Because it changes you.
Because it changes you, okay. Yeah. Well, all these revivals that were on Brownsville,
Man-made, fostered.
man-made. I mean, it's good that we have these times where we get together and people are moved spiritually, but once they're done, they're done.
Wasn't it like Finney out east, where he went, was he the one that, where he would go, business would stop. They would shut things down.
Prisons are shut down.
Sunday,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
Sunday, the same way.
Nobody's not going to allow that.
Yeah. I mean, what we have now, we call revivals, but I mean, it's good that people get revived within themselves.
In themselves. Yes, it's people that are already there and, they need to be picked up or something. It's good, but it's not revival in the sense of what it was
Like in the awakening.
1800s or
Like in the awakenings.
Most of it was Reformation, it was revival.
Azusa Street. Well, here's the other thing. Tell me what well-known minister ever started any great revivals. Great revivals. They were usually started by just common people.
Yeah.
Just loving the Lord.
The one that started Azusa Street, he wasn't even allowed in the church.
Exactly. Black. Because he was black. Now,
Right.
Azusa Street is a perfect example. Azusa Street affected our culture. I was down on Azusa Street in LA and did a little research on it. There's Azusa College. I did a little research on it. And Azusa Street started by a guy who had a heart for homeless people. It was in a mission. It was in the clothing district, which is kind of a low rent district and a seedy district by our standards. But it was a homeless shelter, and he's just out there simply preaching the gospel. He was trained by a well-known minister in Texas. He was under a well-known minister in Texas. Today, all of Pentecostalism can be traced back down to Azusa Street. This is where America got introduced to Pentecostalism. Okay. It's here. This is because from Azusa Street came, Assembly of God. There came, of course, the Jesus-only groups that broke away, Foursquare Gospel, Open Bible. All this came from Azusa Street. So here was this guy, he just loved the Lord, and he was preaching in this mission. Revival came, and everybody in the world knew it. Everybody in the world knew it. And it lasted for a couple of years. And what really ended it was all these well-known ministers, including the minister that discipled him. The minister that discipled him tried to take it over. He went on vacation.
The opportunists.
He went on vacation. This guy came in and said, "Hey, I should be the minister here. This other guy that's on vacation should be hitting the street." So when he came back, they said, no. So he built another church right by the mission. Never went anywhere. All these people from all over the world descended it down, started building churches, trying to get those people away. Never went anywhere. Finally, within his own church, they were publishing all over the world what was going on at Azusa Street. Well, he was single. He married this lady within the church. This other lady in the church that was responsible for sending, newsletters out all over the world, like the minister, was in love with the minister. And because he didn't marry her, she destroyed all of his lists, threw them all away. And you gotta remember, this is 1900. This is not like satellite TV and the internet and all this stuff. newspaper was king and the written word was important. But other problems also. But finally, man was able to stop people within the church. First was outside the church, then inside the church, actually stopped the Bible in the street. But it was just a common person, just like the Welsh revival that went all around the world. Coal miner. I mean,
the Jesus movement started by a guy in Berkeley, California, that owned a coffee shop. He was elected for 22 years, and the revival started. And one of the first patrons,
wow.
People in the ocean.
Yeah. So, I mean, that probably the Jesus revolution, what we call it, probably the last
great. Even that,
revival.
even that was hijacked by a lot of.
Well, of course it was, because it was hijacked by men and opportunists as
And most of the cults started from revivals.
Sure.
Look at the Assembly of God, having a revival, having great success in a revival, and they had this charismatic preacher that was preaching the revivals called Branham. And Branham decided that it was just Jesus only. And he took most of the Assembly of God away from the Assembly of God and started the Jesus only movement. And that happened here. Kenny was in that church experiencing that when that happened.
absolutely late 50s.
Who was it?
At Branham?
Brandon, and who was experiencing?
Kenny Wright.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Last article, statistical analysis of America's 8-stage decline in the genocide, coming after Christians. Gregory H. Stanton, president of Genocide Watch, wrote a most salient paper on the topic of democide, that is, by definition, genocide by government against its people. In his analysis, Stanton identifies 8 key stages related to the process of genocide: classification, symbolization, dehumanization, organization, polarization, preparation, extermination, and denial. Stanton defines this genocide as a process that develops in 8 stages that are predictable but exhortable. In each stage, preventative measures can stop it. The process is not linear. Logically, later stages must be preceded by earlier stages, but all stages continue and operate throughout the process. In other words, the process and stages overlap, and this is precisely what we see in modern-day America. In this article, I will review 8 stages and comment the modern-day examples of how these stages are being enacted today. 8 stages with comment. First of all, classification. All cultures have categories to distinguish people into us and them by ethnicity, race, religion, nationality. The German and Jew, Hutu and Tutsi, bipolar societies that lack mixed categories such as Rwanda and Burundi are the most likely to have genocides. I'm just going to go through this real fast here. Symbolization. We give names and other symbols to the classification. We name people Jews, Gypsies, or distinguish them by colors of dress. Apply the symbols to members of the group. Classification and symbolization are universally human and do not necessarily result in genocide unless they lead to the next stage, dehumanization. They combine, when combined with hatred, symbols may be forced upon unwilling members of a particular group. A yellow scarf for the Jews under Nazi rule. A blue scarf for the people in the eastern zone of Khmer Rouge, Cambodia. The left's hatred of MAGA hats, Make America Great hats, and anyone who supports Trump moves from simple symbolization, one as a racist and one who wants to exterminate blacks. Number 4, organization. Genocide is always organized, usually by the state. often using militias to provide deniability of state responsibility. Sometimes organization is informal or decentralized. Special army units or militias are often trained and armed. 5, polarization. Extremists drive the groups apart. Hate groups broadcast polarized propaganda. Extremist terrorist targets moderates, intimidating and silencing the center. Moderates from the perpetrator's own groups are most able to stop genocide, so are the first to be arrested and killed. The moderates, think about this, moderates within a group. Think about what's happening in the Democratic Party. The moderates are slowly being demonized. Well, they're being demonized. The process of genocide is developing and evolving right before our eyes. Soon nobody will be safe. Preparation. Victims are identified and separated out because of their ethnic or religious identity. Death lists are drawn up. Members of the victims' groups are forced to wear identifying symbols. Their property is expropriated. Taken. Expatriated. That's what it is. They are often segregated in ghettos, deported into concentration camps, or confined to a famine-struck region or starved. As Steve Quayle has repeatedly pointed out, the red list, etc., that will be used in one day to lessen the number of Americans are among us. Common Sense Show just made the Google's blacklist of dangerous websites, as did Mike Adams' website. Number 7, extermination. Extermination begins and quickly becomes mass killing, legally called genocide. It is an extermination to the killers because they do not believe their victims to be fully human. When it's sponsored by the state, the armed forces often work with militias to do the killing. Sometimes genocide results in revenge killings by groups against each other, creating the downward whirlpool cycle of bilateral genocide. At this stage, only rapid and overwhelming armed intervention can stop genocide. According to the University of Hawaii's Democide Project, there have been 16 genocides in the past century, 20th century. This is according to the University of Hawaii. 16 genocides in the 20th century in the world. Every one of them was preceded by first enacting gun registration and later confiscation. There are no exceptions. All 16 genocides were preceded by gun registration and later confiscation. No exceptions. This combined with Obama's Executive Order 13603, which calls for labor camps, confiscation of any and all resources, etc., speaks of the fact that extermination is a goal that is being pursued by the extreme left. According to Stanton, if America is to survive, an armed counter-revolution is the only answer. Once the process has gone this far. 8, denial. Denial is the 8th stage that always follows genocide. It is among the surest indicators of further genocidal massacres. The perpetrators of genocide dig up the mass graves, burn the bodies, try to cover up the evidence, and intimidate the witnesses. They deny that they commit any crimes and often blame what happened on the victims. They block investigations of crimes and continue to govern until driven from power by force when they flee in exile. They will remain with impunity. There they remain with impunity. So, this is, and then there's a lot more here. I mean, I'm just thumbnail and sketching. But here it is, just how genocide is coming to America, which, of course, it doesn't address, it doesn't really address the fact that genocide, the greatest genocide has already came here, and that is abortion. Yeah. But this is saying that there's a genocide coming to America, and it's going to be directed against Bible-believing Christians.
Well, they've even alluded to that. Was it, there was one senator, was the senator? No, it was a congresswoman that said, if we get in power again, if you are a Trump supporter or a Christian, you better watch out because we're coming for
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
you. Right on national television.
Oh, absolutely. And the movie The Hunt,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
has been
it got
canceled now,
canceled.
has been canceled now, which is kind of amazing. Which is one worlders, leftist, one world people with guns will be hunting down people that are Trump supporters. But more importantly, they're going to be, in real life, they're going to be hunting down Christians.
There's an interesting thing that goes kind of along with that I just seen in the news. They came up with a new blood test. And this blood test predicts the chances that you will die within the next 10 or 15 years. It'll predict with a 90% accuracy whether or not you will die in the next 10 or 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine what the insurance companies will do with that kind of information?
Sure. About a year or two before you'll die. Okay, statistically, the likelihood of genocide in America is nearly guaranteed with a 95% rate that will happen. A 95% rate. The only factor not in common with these three regimes is high unemployment. This leads me to believe that the chances of an economic collapse is very high because the left needs angry people in the streets like Antifa in large numbers in multiple cities to get the killing started. When the coup is successful, the roundups and extermination will begin in earnest by the new government. Number two, the likelihood of genocide against identified groups like Christians is harder to calculate, but the best possible data suggests there's an 85% chance that there's a soon coming persecution against Christians, which I think is who they're going to be coming for. Again, this is not a Christian article.
Bill Mayer, you know who he is?
Yeah.
Well, he just came on television 2 days ago saying, we hope and we need a recession if we're going to overthrow Trump.
Yeah, I saw that too.
We need a recession for what?
Recession
They're
to
going to
overthrow
overthrow Trump in the 2020 election. They're hoping and they say they need a recession.
What they haven't fallen yet.
That's what the Democrats are saying, that we need a recession.
Why? So that people get back on the streets in masses and start protesting.
Yeah.
And then those masses will start the killing process. I gotta tell you something, or a reaction to that.
Yeah, this is a real thing. They're putting it into effect. They've got a plan, and their plan is working no matter what we do to counter it. The only thing that can counter at this point is and we look terrible doing it, is if we hunted down the leftist extremists, gathered them up, and charged them with crimes against the state and put them in jail.
3, racial targeting of whites, genocide of whites is trickier to calculate for a variety of reasons, but its calculation is 86% chance. Comparative correlations to Stanton stages. When Nazi Germany came into power, there was a 100% chance. China, 97%, Soviet Union, 96%. So there's a chance that, there's a pretty good chance that we're looking, according to the secular study on genocide, there's a pretty good chance, a 95% chance that there'll be a genocide in America. And then, yep, you have a good day now, Pat.
Well, you know, Pure Flesh just come out with a movie called New World Order. I just saw ads on it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, also, we're talking about dictators who live in luxury. Idi Amin was exiled. He was exiled in the Prince of Saudi Arabia's palace. He died there.
Yeah, exactly.
He died there.
Exactly. There'll always be a home.
Movie star.
There'll always be a home for leaders of genocide.
Both lots, he killed himself before they got
Yeah.
Like I said, the only answer pretty soon is going to be another civil war, and the only way you can turn around is to win that civil war. And I don't know that at this point we have things to do with that.
We have a podcast with a friend of
The
mine.
thing is no matter what you do, you're going to look like the evil party doing it, because your reaction is going to look like an action. So no matter what you do against them, it's going to look like that you initiated it.
In basketball, the second person who fouls somebody is usually the one that gets called.
Or football.
So
retaliate.
you shove somebody and then they get angry and they punch back.
Yeah.
That's when they get called. Generally speaking, that the second person that fouls is the one who's. So when Christians react, we're going to get blamed. A good example of this, and I'm not saying that these people are Christians, I'm just saying using this as an example, in Charlottesville. Okay, the problem is some guy who was, protesting, for white racism or whatever he was protesting, was reacting because the police weren't adequately protecting the people, the counter-protesting people. And he got frustrated and drove a car into people and killed them. Not saying that it was okay, I'm not saying he was a Christian.
Right.
But again, it's, and I didn't see this, but when the police start favoring one group over another,
Well, that's why we need to really pay, and we don't, as average Americans, we don't pay attention to what's really going on. We don't see the whole picture, and we don't see the little minor changes, but it's just like the president's considering labeling Antifa as a terrorist group. That's a reaction to what they are, but it's going to be looked at as he is a racist.
Right. And then when the next left-leaning president comes to power, then Christians will be called terrorists and be rounded up there. And not only, you got to remember, when you're a terrorist group, they come after your funding.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody who
Look, I
funds
think we got $20 in the bank.
That would be
I
froze.
better get that out of there.
Then you won't be able to be froze.
they cut off the funding.
No, I mean, no.
Yeah.
You won't be able to organize a church, you won't be able to keep a church running because you will not have the status of a nonprofit organization anymore.
Exactly.
Well, unless you're a person that's all-inclusive and diverse.
And all the known members of that church will be publicized as supporters of this terrorist group.
Yeah, just like they do with gun owners, non-gun zones.
Exactly.
I have a question. Is this the world falling apart or the world falling into place?
Both.
Oh, that's a good question, Glenn.
Both.
That's a very good question.
It's a world falling apart because it's the great shaking that's going on. And it's a world falling in place of what Bible prophecy is stating. Is that right before our very eyes, we're seeing again, God building his church and Satan building his church. And, we have these stories that we see. I mean, look at the news. If you're a nationalist, you are evil.
Yeah.
If you're a globalist, you're a good person.
Yeah.
Okay. we are being so conditioned to a one-world religion, one-world economy.
And this is why the borders, they're making a big fight over the borders. They're making a big fight over the fact that the Mexicans are coming over here.
They don't want borders anywhere, though. They want to be one.
They don't want borders anywhere.
At 65, they get pretty social security.
But here's the other question that kind of hinges off of your question. Do you fight a war that you know you're going to lose?
What?
Do you fight a war that you know you're going to lose?
It depends on what the Lord directs you to do.
It's kind of like saying, is what you're fighting for worth fighting even though you know that you're going to die doing it?
It's really up to the Lord to direct you if it's that kind of situation.
I think like Ron says, so we're not fighting for victory, we're fighting from victory.
Yeah.
We need a
And I
win.
said, a friend of mine who's a podcaster, his name's Evangelicals, he's a carrier on conservative on Springer. He said one thing, he said, we're in a cold civil war right now. That's what he said.
Here's what I think. I think that some principles are worth fighting and dying for, even though you know that you will not be able to stand. Sometimes you die because it gives people the view that it was worth dying for. It's like when we had a Revolutionary War. They didn't think they were going to win that war.
No.
But they knew what the principles that they were standing on. They were standing for religion, and make no mistake about it, was about religious freedom. That's what it was about. It wasn't about tea in the harbor. It was about religious freedom. They had a belief that they were free to worship the way they wanted to, and the king was going to stop them from doing it. They fought the war because it was a war worth fighting. Even whether or not they won or lost, it was worth doing.
And well, and I have a middle 17th century book against tithing.
Oh, really?
Against tithing. But the reason why it's against tithing is because it was compulsory in the Church of England. It was compulsory. It was like a taxation.
Was it something where they bought their pew or something? Was that,
Well, I mean, they
was
did
that
that.
a different thing?
That's a different thing, but the whole book is about, and this is before the Revolutionary War, and it was against tithing. And you think, against tithing, what's that all about? Well, it's against being forced by an organized religion to give to them, because there's only one religion. That's what the Revolutionary War was being fought against the choice, that you given a choice to what organization that you could be a part of.
And you know who the biggest violator of that was? The church in Massachusetts, because I was in historical council and heard this, that they were Puritans. You had to think their way, or you're thrown out of thrown out of their congregation. In fact, out of the whole village. Well, some of them escaped, and he started another fellowship in another state. It was totally free. It was started by Rhode Island. They fled to Rhode Island.
There's something in the Word of God that says about not asking for tithes or offering from those that are not part of your body, because when you do, then you are obligated to them. I can't remember where it is, but it's that kind of a principle that we aren't supposed to ask those that are in the world or not part of us
I think it's the first John.
to give to us. It's kind of odd because it goes against everything the churches now they say, because you just have to play around. But
If they do 10%, all this other stuff, because they just do it all the time.
that's something that we kind of see in our church back then, where you said, if you don't
believe, don't give.
believe, don't give.
There's one in verse, I think it's 3 John, says, dear friends, you are faithful in what you are doing for the brothers and sisters, even though they are strangers to you. You have told the churches about your love. Please send them on their way in a manner that honors God, which for the sake of the name that they went out, receiving no help from the pagan. We up therefore to show hospitality to each people so that we may work together for the church. I don't know what we're talking about.
No, that's,
That might be.
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it is.
it's word of different games, but you're not supposed to receive that from the world.
This is goes for the sake of the name that they went out receiving no help from the pagan. The spiritual riches support those people, not the pagan.
How to take the community at their observe, examine
And it's
yourself.
an interesting concept because it kind of reverses against what people think about coming to churches. It's a true thing though, because you don't want the world to think that all you're out for is
Third John
money.
5, don't forget. Third John 5.
You don't want the world to think you're out, what?
For just you're doing this for the money. You don't want the world to think that you're out to get their money.
That's what I said all along. If the world's going to criticize you, especially ministers, they're going to criticize you for a hate monger, a hypocrite, or a money broker.
But the first was probably money growing
Yeah.
Yes.
in the years ago.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that's what my mom and dad thought, quite a lot of their life was that, they just want your money.
Right.
We didn't have a lot of money. We were a poor family. So I think they thought that way towards the end of Dad's life, maybe for the last few years, I think he was a believer. And Mom for maybe, I can't remember how long it is, maybe 20 years, something like that.
Did you hear about the latest Noah and Partial? They're going to have that big gay parade coming. And the first people that they're going to have out front with the parade are Down syndrome children. They're turning the flags and they're turning the...
That is not going to bode well for them. When you start picking on innocent.
Exactly. Shannon Parker talked about that. The big parade in San Francisco.
I can't, I know you're talking, but your tone is something I hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking.
It's my fault.
No, that's all right. I'm not thinking I should face you and talk to you. They're having a big gay parade.
Right.
And they're going to have Down syndrome children leading the way. They're going to have carrying signs. They're going to be in drag outfits. They're using them. It's in, Jan Marshall talked about that. And of course, Jesus said, that if you use a child like that, you're going to have a millstone hanging around your neck. And they're using Down syndrome children to affirm what they're doing. And of course, Down syndrome children need affirmation, so they're getting affirmation from this group because,
Well, that's one of the things I don't like about those group homes and such for disabilities is they're big on inclusion and promoting different lifestyles within those groups.
In the 80s, down in the Quad Cities, they always took them to bars and got them drunk on Friday nights.
Yeah. When I was in
Down syndrome.
They took those people in group homes and they got them drunk. In the 80s, they were doing that in the 80s.
when I was in Skyline, they were all about convincing them that they were gay. So, they get gay this week and not gay next week, but gay and another month. And if your friend was gay, then you were gay, and because that's the way they think.
Yeah, that's because they're mentality. Hopefully,
And the one I was thinking of, it says something about requiring nothing of you, and therefore I stand innocent. I can't remember where it is.
The biggest one now
Is that a King James word, the requiring, or is that
Yeah.
a different translation? There should not be too many of those.
Another, the other big one now is they are accepting drag queen storytellers in language.
Right.
Picture. Oh, did you hear about the Christian that stood up for it?
Yeah,
He's
speaking
in the library and he told him, hey, you left us sin and
that was in Ottawa, Canada.
Yeah.
I just got a message from my sister. She told me to stay out of trouble today. No more drag race.
No more drag racing.
Yeah, look at the sister.
We're dragging the big 14.
Okay, all I have to do is figure out how to.
You think required is
I think it's requiring nothing of you or something like that. I can't remember.
Okay, do you spell that Requiring?
Yeah.
2 verses. So Jonah got up and went to Nineveh to do what the Lord had ordered. Now, Nineveh was a very large city, requiring a 3-day journey to cross it. Then in Micah, he has made it clear to you, mortal man, what is good and what the Lord is requiring from you, to act with justice, to treasure the Lord's gracious love, and to walk humbly in the company of your God. Those are only 2 places for
Might be mine.
King James. Oh, I'm sorry. My fault. I was on.
Old Testament.
I was on the wrong. That was an ISB. Let's try this again. 1 verse in Luke. And they were instant with loud voices, requiring that he might be crucified, and the voices of them of the chief priests prevailed. Only 1 place in King James.
I think Mike had something.
I'll have to look for it.
I think it's different.
None in whatever DVD is. None in Easy English. ISB I already read here. And T1. An edict was sent throughout Judah and Jerusalem requiring the people to bring to the Lord the tax that Moses, God's servant, imposed on Israel in the wilderness. Not that? Okay. None?
I know I read it to you before.
I know I've heard it before.
None.
Yeah.
That's not saying we know the version. Maybe, yeah, that's amazing.
But no, Dan, you, I mean, you kind of get the same though. I think what Brian's bringing is a different scripture, but it is because that for his name's sake, for God's name's sake, for Christ's name's sake, they went forth taking nothing of the Gentiles.
Yeah, I'd like to remind you of the verse, but that one is.
It is a different verse, but
But it's
that's
talking about traveling evangelists.
That concludes this edition of The Last 7 Days. Opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Spreaker or GJRB. Join us next time, here on Spreaker, for another podcast of The Last 7 Days on GJRB. This has been a GJRB podcast presentation.
Mr. Johnson, welcome to Judgment. Have a seat while I examine your life.
Sure. Does it say anything in there about me believing in God?
Yes, it does say you believed in the existence of a God.
Oh, good. I hear that's real important.
Well, I've seen enough. If you could have a seat with that group over there, you'll be taken to your destination.
Over there? Oh, okay.
Next.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Is that Satan in my group?
Yes, it is. Next.
Wait a minute. You're putting me in the same group with Satan?
According to your records, you never trusted your life to God.
Hold on. I believed in God.
So did Satan, Mr. Johnson. He didn't put his faith in God either.
What do you mean, put my faith in God?
It is not enough to believe in the existence of a God or a cosmic force or deity. Mr. Johnson, you were sinful, and God was willing to forgive you through his son Jesus. Problem is, you never asked for or accepted his forgiveness. Next.
Another message from Lifeline Productions, located on the web at lifelinepro.com.
There's a problem on our roads today, and that is the safety of our children boarding and getting off the bus on busy roads. That problem is drivers who don't stop for a school bus when the arm is out, the lights are flashing, and the stop sign is out, leaving kids in danger of getting hit. Violators of this law could get a suspension of their driver's license and a $250 fine. When you see a school bus stop at a corner, letting off kids, stop 25 feet away from the bus. Don't take that chance. A public service announcement from the National Highway Safety Administration and GJRB Online. Recently, the owner of Facebook had to face Congress over personal information on Facebook users. In addition, users were saying that their postings were being deleted. Getting sick and tired of your censorship and your data being used without your permission? Do something about it now. Come to MeWe, the internet social site that values your freedom. No more deleted postings. Make a step to freedom. Sign up today. It's easy. Go to www.mewe.com. That's M-E-W-E. MeWe, the internet's free speech social site. Imagine one day tuning around on your internet radio only to find a station playing old radio programs complete with commercials and thinking, what am I tuning into? The past? You might be, or it's just GJRB Online and Radioland. A day of nothing but classic radio shows back to back with classic commercials in between. Like the days of radio. Almost like your computer is picking up signals through time. Closer than you'll ever get to time travel. Radioland. Another Radioland coming soon on GJRB Online.
This is GJR Broadcasting.